Welcome back. Now, following warnings of heavy rains expected in various regions across the country, the Motor Vehicle Accident Fund calls on motorists to drive with caution and observe road traffic rules and regulations. Now, of recent, 3 people drowned following heavy rains in Windhoek in the past week. The MVA Fund reminds road users of the dangers posed by the wet and slippery roads and calls on motorists to exercise extreme caution. Now, with more on this, I'm joined in studio by Hilaria Graig, who's a manager for corporate communications and stakeholder relations at the MVA Fund. Good morning, Hilaria, and thank you so much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Good morning, Lot, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, we see that Windhoek and some parts of the country have been receiving heavy rainfalls over the past couple of weeks, and motorists have obviously been on the receiving end in terms of the showers. We saw it yesterday, quite heavy there. I think it was sometime in Southern Industrial as well as in Commersdal. Let's talk about the number of road accidents that the MVA Fund has recorded over the past 2 weeks that involved possibly, due to heavy rain, so might have played some role.
Thank you very much for the question. I think what we have observed is a slight increase, as you said, this week alone. I think we've already reported 3 deaths due to rain, and people just attempting to cross flowing waters. And while I don't have the exact statistics, if there's been more than that with me right now, we are really just cautioning members of the public, motorists, road users, to be extremely cautious. I think the meteorological services has already warned that the rains are likely to continue. And so we're really calling on everyone to be cautious on the road. Be very careful. I think when we look at a body of moving water or even still water, we make assumptions that, oh, I'm tall or I'm this or my car is big or whatever the case might be, but you don't know the strength of the water. Especially when it's flowing, but even when it's still, you cannot see the depth of the water. And so we're just trying to advise everyone when coming to a road, exercise caution, but what is extremely even more advisable, or what is best, is to just use alternative routes. And I think sometimes the rain catches us off guard. I think you saw yesterday, we were all at work and it was a lovely morning and suddenly it just started pouring. And sometimes we're thinking of our destinations, of where it is that we have to go, and making that a priority instead of our safety. So underestimating and miscalculating. And I think the motto that we want to live by is, if there is water, take an alternative route. It really saves lives.
Okay. Now, building on that, we're seeing that motorists are attempting to cross water-locked areas and also attempting to cross shallow rivers and, getting swept away. We saw a video this week of an inhabitant in Windhoek who I think maybe either thought that maybe the vehicle was perhaps big enough, the water wasn't that strong, and before we know it, we saw that video before the end of the day, and then the next morning we were told the vehicle was recovered and also the remains were recovered. What seems to be going through the minds of the people when attempting to do this possibly?
I think it's a miscalculation and perhaps trusting the vehicle because of the size. But water, I think, is extremely strong, as we've seen in that video. When the video is shot, it looks like the water is still, but as soon as the car gets in, you see the strength of that current in that car, which was quite a big car, being swept away. So I think it was a miscalculation on the part of that specific individual, and it's unfortunate in what it resulted. And I think that life should not be in vain. We should all use it as an example, regardless of the size of your car. Really trust and believe that the water is very strong, and do what is necessary to take care of yourself and the passengers that are with you. My message again today is just make use of alternative routes. And sometimes using an alternative route means a delay, but rather make that phone call to let people know that you are slightly delayed due to the rain. I think everybody can understand that. But exercise caution and be safe. That is the most and ultimate message for today.
No. Also, the MVA Fund continues to talk about the dangers that are posed by wet and slippery roads and calling on motorists to practice extreme caution. Why should we be worried about? Let's say, for instance, it's not, rain that is pouring. Maybe it's just a few drizzlets. The road is wet. What are the dangers of a wet and slippery road for road users? And what is the acceptable distance instead when you're driving to avoid bumper to bumper?
Yeah, I think when the roads are wet, they are generally slippery. There's a lot of things that are contributing to unsafety, and I think drivers are just a little bit more, I don't know if people are less alert or more nervous, but we tend to observe quite a few, perhaps not necessarily leading to injury and death, but quite a lot of irritation on the road as everybody's rushing, which results into crashes. And so because the roads are wet, it makes it more difficult for one to stop. And especially when you have to make an immediate stop. So we're advising for safe following distance. Ensure that the distance between you and the car in front of you is sufficient so that if that car needs to stop abruptly or whether you need to stop abruptly, you are not leading to a fender bender and you're not bumping into each other. So you are thinking about your own safety and the safety of the people in the car in front of you. Also, we are just cautioning for checking of tires because if the road is slippery and your tires are not strong enough or they are not in a good condition, it makes it that much more difficult for the traction on the road for your vehicle to stop. So you're not putting your own life and the lives of the passengers in your vehicle at danger, but also the passengers in other vehicles as well. It can lead to issues with your engine. So we're really just saying that when you are on the road, check for your vehicle in terms of its validity and its ability to use the road. Check your tires, check that everything is well in your car, your wipers as well, because if your wipers are not working, and it seems like a simple thing, but if your wipers are not working, you cannot see in front of you. So you need to check for all those safety aspects. Check that your mirrors are working and just do the right thing. If those things are not working, make sure they are fixed, because we don't quite have an idea of how long the rains are going to last. While we welcome the rain, we want people to be cautious and to be safe. One of the things that we say at the MVA Fund is one life lost is one life too many. So let us do the right thing. Let us be cautious on the road. Let us drive safe.
Okay. Now, as we begin to wrap up our conversation this morning, we saw again that the casualties continue to obviously, to be seen on the roads, especially on the B1. We had an accident this past Sunday, that is 20 kilometers just before Chuarongo. Well-known figures also who died in that car accident again. Cautiousness when it comes to the B road. We heard that the Road Fund Administration talking about the possibility of also looking at the $2 billion funding for expanding of the road to become a dual carriage. The issue of road safety and road awareness, not necessarily even if it's a dual carriage, how important it is again, especially when it comes to the B1 road.
I think road safety is an important part in our country because road crashes are happening quite frequently and we're losing a lot of lives. As I've said, for us at the MVA Fund, we move by one life lost is one life too many. And if we look at just those crashes of this week, just the ones that you've mentioned, the crashes on the B1 and the resultant injuries and fatalities in those crashes, the crashes in Commerce region due to rain, you can see that there's a lot of road safety issues on our road. So again, we are cautioning road user behavior. A leading cause of road crashes in Namibia is the human factor. So what we noted is that if we as the road users do what is expected of us, we can almost more than half the crashes that are happening on our roads. So that's issues of planning your journey, avoiding driving it in the evening or the late nights when there's less visibility, vehicle roadworthiness, maintenance, basic things like observing the road traffic rules. All of those aspects are important. The MVA Fund, on its part, with other road safety stakeholders, is doing its part to go into the regions and educate road users on road safety issues. Right now, actually, we are in the Hardap region, visiting various towns and various settlements where we're talking to people not just about the services that are offered at the MVA Fund, but the importance of road safety. And I think it's a message that we cannot preach enough. So we're doing our part, and I think other road safety stakeholders are doing the same. But really what we are saying is that it starts with me, it starts with you lot. Because if we as the human beings who are on the road do what is right, we can incredibly reduce road fatalities in our country.
And briefly, finally, now, if there's a crash that has taken place or there's an accident that has taken place, what are those important numbers to memorize and for us to be able to reach out so that we receive the adequate services?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So one of the things that we are always calling upon is for road users and members of the public to save the MVA Fund accident response number. It's a toll-free number, meaning that you just need network. You call that number, it's 9682. Simple as that, 9682. You call that number and emergency services will be dispatched immediately to the site of the emergency or to the site of the crash. What we're also calling for is that when we come to these crashes, as you see, for example, with that video of the gentleman who drove into the flowing water, what were we doing? As onlookers, we were taking videos and not calling emergency services. So we are asking, please, that you save the MVA Fund accident response number 9682. You call that number immediately in the event of a crash, whether you yourself are involved or you are just passing by, so that emergency services can be sent to that crash site immediately. Well, calling that number really is the difference between life and death for those who are involved in crashes.
Well, Hilaria, thank you very much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, that was Hilaria Graig, who is a manager for corporate communications and stakeholder relations at the MVA Fund, talking to us about the rainy period that we have been having as of recent, and also urging caution during heavy rains when it comes to driving, and ensuring that you also memorize the MVA Fund accident response toll-free number, that is 9682. So ensure that if you are at the scene of an accident, those that have been affected receive the immediate and necessary help. Now stay tuned as Ndapewa is standing by with the 7 o'clock news bulletin.